My father saved money for 18 years and still died poor. When I was younger, I never understood why he looked afraid every time he opened his wallet, even when there was money inside. He saved every coin, every bill, every extra dollar. He skipped meals, wore old clothes, worked overtime for years, and still, our life never became easier. But the worst part? One night, everything he saved almost disappeared in a single moment. And what happened after that completely changed the way I think about money forever. My father's name was Victor. He worked at a small repair shop near the train station. The place was old. Oil stains covered the floor, broken machines filled every corner, and the smell of smoke stayed trapped in the air. Every morning, before sunrise, Victor unlocked the shop alone, and every night, long after the city slept, he was still working, fixing engines, repairing tools, lifting heavy parts with tired hands. For 18 years, he lived the exact same day again, and again, and again. But despite working constantly, we were still poor, not starving, but always one emergency away from disaster. That kind of poverty is different. It follows you silently. You smile outside, while fear slowly eats you inside. I still remember one winter evening. Rain hit the windows hard. The electricity suddenly stopped. The apartment became dark and cold. My mother lit a candle quietly. Then she looked at my father and whispered, "We can't keep living like this." Victor said nothing. He simply walked toward the kitchen cabinet, opened a metal box, and pulled out a thick stack of saved money. His hands trembled slightly, not with pride, with fear. That money was his entire world. 18 years of sacrifice, 18 years of saying, "Not now, maybe next year. We can't afford it." He never bought new shoes, never traveled, never rested, because he believed one thing: if I save enough money, one day we'll finally feel safe. Then something happened that shattered that belief forever. The next morning, Victor arrived at work early as usual, but the repair shop owner stood outside looking nervous. The workers gathered around him silently. Then the owner spoke. "The shop is closing." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Victor laughed softly at first, as if it was impossible, but it wasn't a joke. The owner continued, "We lost too much money. I can't continue." And just like that, after 18 years, my father lost everything in less than 2 minutes. That evening, our apartment felt heavier than ever. My mother sat silently near the window. I pretended to study, but secretly watched my father. He opened the metal savings box again, slowly counted the money, then counted again, and again, like maybe the numbers would magically change. Finally, he whispered something so quietly, I almost didn't hear it. "This money won't last long." For the first time in my life, I saw fear in my father's eyes. Real fear. Days passed. Victor searched everywhere for work. Factories, garages, warehouses. Nothing. Some places said, "You're too old," others said, "We're not hiring." Each rejection made him quieter, smaller. One afternoon, I found him sitting alone in the dark kitchen. The savings box was open beside him, almost empty. My chest tightened immediately, because I understood something terrifying. The money that took 18 years to save was disappearing in weeks. That night, during dinner, my mother asked carefully, "What will we do now?" Victor stared silently at the table, then finally said, "I don't know." Those 3 words scared me more than poverty itself, because my father always had answers. But now, even he looked lost. A few days later, Victor went to the bank hoping for advice. Inside, people in suits discussed investments, businesses, opportunities. Words he barely understood. He sat quietly in the corner, feeling invisible. Then he overheard something strange. A businessman laughed while speaking to his friend. Saving money alone is the slowest way to stay poor. Victor frowned immediately. Stay poor? How could saving money keep someone poor? That sentence followed him the entire walk home. That night, he couldn't sleep. Rain hit the roof softly. The apartment was silent. And for the first time, Victor admitted something painful to himself. I spent my entire life protecting money, instead of teaching it to grow. The thought terrified him, because deep down, he knew it was true. Then suddenly, a dangerous idea entered his mind. A small idea, but small ideas can completely destroy an old life or build a new one. The next morning, my father did something completely unexpected. Instead of searching for another job, he walked to the old city market. Not because he had a plan, because he had run out of plans. The market was crowded and loud. People shouted prices. Trucks unloaded boxes. Street vendors argued with customers. Victor walked slowly through the noise, holding the last of his savings inside his jacket pocket. Every few seconds, he touched the money nervously, as if he was afraid it might disappear. And honestly, it already was. Then he noticed something strange. At the corner of the market, an old woman was selling hot tea and bread from a tiny cart. Nothing fancy, just steam, simple foods, and tired workers standing in line. But the line never stopped. Workers bought breakfast. Drivers bought tea. Students grabbed bread before school. Money moved constantly, small amounts, again and again and again. Victor stood there watching silently. Then suddenly, he realized something powerful. The woman was not working for money once. Her small cart was creating money all day long. That thought stayed in his head like fire. The entire walk home, he kept thinking, what if I stop protecting money and start using it? But another voice immediately answered, what if you lose everything? That fear almost stopped him, because poor people are not just afraid of failure, they are afraid of losing the little they already have. That evening, Victor sat at the kitchen table with my mother. The savings box rested between them, almost empty now. Victor took a deep breath. I want to use the money. My mother looked shocked immediately. Use it for what? Victor hesitated, then quietly answered, a food cart. The room became silent. Even I stopped breathing for a moment. A food cart? After 18 years of saving? It sounded insane. My mother's eyes filled with fear. What if it fails? Victor lowered his head, then said something I will never forget. Saving didn't save us either. Silence filled the apartment again, because deep down, everyone knew he was right. The next week, my father bought an old second-hand food cart. The paint was damaged. One wheel squeaked loudly, and the metal looked rusted. But when Victor touched that cart, something inside him changed. For the first time in years, he looked hopeful. Not safe, hopeful. And there's a difference. The first morning was brutal. Victor woke up at 4 a.m., prepared tea, boiled eggs, made simple sandwiches, then pushed the heavy cart through freezing streets toward the train station. His hands hurt, his back ached, and deep inside, fear whispered constantly, what if nobody buys anything? At first, almost nobody did. Hours passed slowly. People walked by without looking. Some ignored him completely, others bought once and never returned. By afternoon, Victor had earned almost nothing. That night, he counted the money silently. Tiny amount, tiny hope. My mother looked worried again. Maybe this was a mistake. Victor stared at the table for a long time, then quietly answered, "No." But honestly, I think he was trying to convince himself. The second week became worse. Heavy rain flooded the streets. Customers disappeared. One afternoon, strong wind knocked the cart sideways. Tea spilled everywhere. Food fell into dirty water. Victor stood frozen in the rain, watching half his money disappear in seconds, and for the first time, I saw him almost break. That night, he sat alone in darkness without speaking. The apartment felt suffocating. Then finally, he whispered, "Maybe I was too late." Those words crushed me, because my father suddenly looked old. Very old. Not physically, spiritually. But the next morning, something unexpected happened. At 5:30 a.m., while setting up near the station, a tired office worker stopped at the cart. Then another, then another. One customer said, "Your tea tastes better than the expensive cafe nearby." The next day, those same customers returned. Then they brought friends. Then construction workers started buying breakfast every morning. Slowly, the tiny cart stopped looking like failure. Started looking like possibility. Weeks passed, then months. Victor improved everything carefully. Better bread, faster service, cleaner setup. He learned what customers liked. He remembered names, smiled more, worked with energy instead of fear. And slowly, the impossible started happening. The cart made more money in 1 month than the repair shop salary made in 3. One night, Victor opened the old savings box again. But this time, he didn't put money inside. He took money out. I looked confused immediately. "Dad, why are you removing it?" Victor smiled softly. Then he handed the money to my mother. "We're buying a second cart." At that moment, I finally understood the lesson. Money hidden stays small. Money used wisely grows. A year later, Victor owned 3 food carts near different stations, then 5, then a small breakfast shop. And something changed that shocked me most. For the first time in my entire life, my father stopped looking afraid. One evening, while closing the shop, I asked him, "Dad, what was the biggest mistake you made?" Victor stayed quiet for a moment, then slowly answered, "I spent half my life believing saving money would make me safe." He looked around the busy little shop proudly. But safety never came from saving alone. It came from building something. Listen carefully. Saving money is important, but saving without growth can trap you forever. Because money sitting still slowly loses power, while money used with wisdom creates freedom. Most people work their entire lives, collecting small amounts, protecting every coin with fear. But wealthy people understand something different. Money is a tool, not a treasure to hide. And the moment you learn to make money work for you, your entire life changes. So if you're watching this right now, ask yourself honestly, am I only saving money? Or am I building something bigger? Because maybe the life you want is waiting on the other side of one small decision. And if this story connected with you, comment below, "Make money grow." I read every comment. And subscribe to Mindset Tales Studio for more emotional stories about mindset, money, discipline, and life-changing lessons. Because sometimes, one simple story can completely change the way you see your future.